So personally, I think Gashagua will one day work with Ruto, like sooner or later. Whatever is happening to him was a lesson that Ruto really needed him to learn. And the lesson is that there are no permanent enemies in politics. And that's the sad reality Gachagua is learning. That's the political lesson he didn't learn in his short political career. And now he has to learn. That's why he's now teaming up with other people that he would never have teamed up with. He's meeting with likes of Karua, he's meeting with likes of Kalonzo. The people he will never have met with. And by the end of the day, he'll finally reconcile with Ruto. Because you can see even how he's treating Raila. He's not as aggressive to Raila because he knows that in the political world, in the political environment, there are no permanent enemies. That's the lesson Gashagua is learning hardly and toughly. And for the abuses that he used to throw to Raila and Uhuru, I think since Ruto knew the game so well that you don't create permanent enemies, he got this bulldog that was very rational at that time. Then he could just send that dog to bark at anyone. And him, he kept himself like it was easier for Ruto to approach Uhuru to reconcile their differences. It was easier for Ruto to approach Raila to reconcile their differences. But it's very tough for Gachagua to do so because he went all out. He was calling names. He was very aggressive. He was very abusive. How do you get away from that? So Gachagua burnt all bridges. Ruto maintained them and he used that dog. And once that dog's work was done and he needed to mend the bridges that this guy had burnt, he went and mended them. But there were conditions to mending those bridges because he was being told that this dog you had really abused me, really hurt my feelings. So how do we punish him? How do we teach him that in the political world, in the political class, in the political environment, you don't create enemies like that. It's never personal. All these elections, all this abuse, all this banter, it's never personal between those people. But Gachagua made it personal, unknowingly. So by the time he was realizing that, oh shit, I'm being used by this guy, I'm creating unnecessary enemies, I'm creating unnecessary walls, it was too late. Because he was used and dumped. If you follow at the point when Ruto was picking Gachagua, many people were wondering, like, why would you pick this? Then they gave him the worst persona ever. Some arrogant, ignorant, primitive guy. Of which Gachagua is not. If you watch the interview between Gachagua and Karua, you will realize that this guy is kind of polished. But they gave him the persona of those baggy suits, those vulgar language, that abusive, that arrogant, ignorant persona. Just to lure those voters or people who align with that school of thought. Because Gachagua was rich enough. I don't think before the election he was wearing those baggy suits. Because if you see how he's dressing now, that's the real Gachagua. If you listen to how he's talking now, that's the real Gachagua. I'm not saying that he's a perfect man. Obviously he's corrupt like most of those people. There is no clean politician, but they created a persona for him to lure voters. But maybe in the years to come, once he will have learned his lesson that in the political environment there are no permanent enemies, which I'm sure he's already learned to some degree, him and Ruto will reconcile. Because if really he's gotten the lesson that in the political world you take nothing personal, he'll reconcile with Ruto because he needs Ruto for his next political ambition. He really needs that guy. And the beauty of whatever happened to him is that what he really craved for, what he really yearned for, he's got. He's got an organic crowd. Gachagua before couldn't get an organic crowd. He had to pay for crowds. Something that Ruto still has to do. Ruto has to pay for crowds to appear. People don't love him. He has to pay for people to appear. Gachagua, if Gachagua goes anywhere in Central, he doesn't have to pay now. people just come to a crowd and people expect nothing from him. People just love him. That's something that only Raila has. And now Gashagua is kind of gaining it. But the only downside to it is that he's only gaining it in one region. If he can get to expand it to more regions, then he'll be forced to reckon with. Because for Ruto, anytime he goes to, even in Nairobi, he has to pay those crowds. So he has to like spend more than 10 or 20 or 30 million just for people to listen to what he has to say. So are people really listening to him, or are they waiting to be paid? Because he's obsessed with big crowds. And the upside for someone like Ruto is that you ensure that that country, the rate of unemployment is so high that when you go anywhere, you always have those big crowds. Because those big crowds are signs of a failed leader. Because it's a weekday and you can mobilize that number of people to come see you because you're paying them how much? 200 shillings or 100 shillings. And you're proud to give people that your support. So you ensure that you keep people so poor, so unemployed, that so that whenever you appear in any region, you have people. And it's not only Ruto that does it. Even Raila strong business, he ensures that those people remain poor, so that if he comes to those places, if he comes to Kisumu, he always have a crowd because he knows that the poverty rate in that region is high, the employment rate in that region is high. So you people, whenever I come, you'll always be free because I know you're unemployed. In a working economy, I don't think in a country like Rwanda, on a random day, when Kagame goes in those random places, he'll get as big crowds as the ones that Ruto or Raila gets. Because most of the people in this country, at least they are employed. Even if they are unemployed, they are kind of busy. But our country is the opposite. We are unemployed and not like there's nothing to keep you busy because the political class ensures that they want you poor people. They want more poor people because it's easier to lead and brainwash poor people because it's all about just giving them food, just giving them handouts, and they'll do whatever you want. That's why those crowds will forever be there. And Ruto loves it. Raila loves it. And the beauty for Raila, he gets those crowds for free. And as much as Ruto also pays for those crowds, they really don't pay much. Because at times they give the money to the MP, and maybe, assuming they give the MP maybe 4 or 10 million, the MP has to struggle to remain with most of the money. So maybe the MP will remain with 3 million, then give the 7 million to the mobilizers. So even in this distribution of this money, still you might go to that crowd with the promise that you'll be paid, but still you won't be paid because someone who is distributing that money will mess you up because it's an African who has been given that money. So at times I ask myself, is it a morality issue or is it just a melanin issue? So as I went up the Gashagua thing, I think Gashagua is trying to rebrand, but I think most people still really don't trust him. That's why when Morara went to meet him, a good chunk of his fan base left him because you can't really trust Gashagua like fully. You can trust whatever he's saying, but you can't trust him in a big leadership position because in the end he's still as corrupt as his former boss. He's still as corrupt as the people he's preaching against. Because how else did he amass that wealth?
Son of soil, nekadeli maombi.